This is Dwayne Gregory, presiding officer of the Suffolk County Legislature. During my tenure, I promoted government transparency and open access to government. This show is brought to you with the intention of informing the public through community engagement. You will hear from various local officials, community advocates, and leaders. Please enjoy the show.
Thank you, Brother Gregory, and as always, we are indebted to you for creating this government access opportunity to have this community conversation. Listen, friends, my name is Andy C. Luter, and again, you're watching and listening to Dwayne Gregory Presents. He is the presiding officer of the Suffolk County Legislature, and he represents the 18th Legislative District here on Long Island's Suffolk County. I am your host, Andy C. Luter. I'm joined by literally my two sisters, Tanya Luter Gordon and Rosalind Luter Aaron, and together we make up Luter Life Coaches. This is a partnership with Dwayne Gregory so that these community conversations can be accommodated. Today, we are returning to one of our previous guests in the person of Laura Curran, who serves as the Nassau County Executive. We had an exciting conversation with her last time, and we are anxious to widen that conversation and to bring you more material and information about what she is doing in Nassau County. The goal and the objective of this television program is to acquaint you with persons who are positively impacting the quality of life here on Long Island. So let me pause very quickly and invite my sister Tanya to say hello.
Hello, audience. Again, we are so delighted that you are joining us. We know your time is precious, and the fact that you're spending it with us means so much.
And Rosalind.
Greetings and welcome. Once again, we are here to pour into you, to share with you what's going on around town, what's going on Long Island. So, with no further ado.
And again, I'm Andy C. Luter, and we three are Luter Life Coaches, and this is a partnership with the Office of Dwayne Gregory. It's Dwayne Gregory Presents, and it is taking advantage of the government access opportunity here on Long Island to acquaint you with individuals that impact your life. Today, we have returning to us as our guest, Laura Curran, who serves as the Nassau County Executive. Welcome back. We're so happy to have you.
I'm so happy to be back. And, you know, I want to thank Dwayne Gregory for providing this platform. We're two counties, but we're one region on Long Island.
Yes.
It's a great partnership with Suffolk County, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you. The last time you were here, we were talking about some initiatives, your background, a biographical sketch, and we want to talk a little more about initiatives here on Long Island, those things that really impact and affect us here on Long Island. But we have queued up a video from the archives in the library of Laura Curran. We're anxious for you to see her at work. So take a look at the video.
Juliana and your wonderful team employ people, grow the tax base, and you know, we're trying to create a more business-friendly environment here in Nassau County. You're also wonderful corporate citizens. You give back to the community. You take care of children who might not get all the benefits that other kids do. I've seen you do it, and you do it with heart. So I want to thank you for everything you do, and I wish you another 59 fabulous years right here in Nassau County. God bless. Thank you.
So again, friends, I am Andy C. Luter, and this is Dwayne Gregory Presents, done in partnership with Luter Life Coaches. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Tanya Luter Gordon and Rosalind Luter Aaron. And our guest today, as you see, is Laura Curran, who serves as the Nassau County Executive. Ms. Curran, we talked the last time about some amazing things that you're doing here on Long Island. I'm going to yield to Rosalind, who has a question or two about some things that are relevant in this season because it's getting ready to get cold.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Luter. I appreciate that. One of the things that I am so impressed about you is your passion when it comes to individuals or circumstances that are underserved or almost as though they're forgotten. But you have a program, a warming program. It is for the homeless. It is for individuals who are having a most difficult time during this period. And so I would love for you to share with us some more details to be able to let our viewing audience know what services are there available for individuals as we enter into this season of winter.
Right. So, people from outside of Long Island see us as this wealthy region, and our biggest problem is that we can't get air conditioning for our polo ponies. When obviously we know the reality is very different. We're very privileged to be able to provide, when we just had a recent cold snap, and this is something that people can access throughout the winter. They call 866 Warm Bed, and you will have access to a safe place to sleep to get out of the cold. When it's very, very cold out, we also open up buildings, some of our county buildings and our parks, as warming centers where people can go for the day just to be warm, to get out of the cold. And I think that's incredibly important. We've just appointed and the legislature approved a new commissioner for our Department of Social Services. Everything from child protective services, making sure that spouses who are supposed to pay parental money, make sure that happens, make sure that everyone gets what they need, what kind of services they need. It's incredibly important that we make that connection with people and let them know in our growingly diverse county what is available, what resources are available to all of our communities. And that's a really important part of what we do at the county.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya, you have actually multiple questions that you want to share and raise with the county executive.
Yes. So, County Executive, you have been recognized for facilitating so many women that have been elevated to great positions in the county, in your administration. So we'd like you to speak to that.
Sure. When I was running for this job, I made a pledge that I would, my goal was to have 50% of the senior staff, department heads, deputy county executives, that sort of thing, have 50% of them be women. And I have to tell you, I said it was a goal, I wasn't sure I could reach it. I actually forgot all about it. I did it, and then I realized we got 50% who were women. It was not hard. There are so many smart, talented women in our county, in our area, who want to serve, who want to give back. And it makes our government stronger. And it's about 50-50. It's a good mix, and it makes, I think it's very important that the government, that the people that you appoint look like the county that they're serving. 50-50 is pretty good.
That's wonderful, wonderful. But also we know you have another initiative where it was an emergency fund to increase significantly to the tune of multiple millions of dollars funding to facilitate resources for your constituents. And so if you want to talk about, we'd like to give you an opportunity to talk about that.
Sure. So something that we did, we wanted to make it easier for people to, obviously we want to create a more business-friendly environment to make it easier to do business in Nassau County. We also wanted to make it easier to do business with the county. So the previous administration had put in a vendor fee. Anyone who wanted to do business with the county had to pay $125 a month. I'm sorry, $125 a year in order to do business with us. It's not a lot of money. But we saw it as a barrier to participation. So with the help of the legislature, we got rid of the fee, no more fee. And a lot of people didn't want to pay it because they thought, I'm probably not going to get the business anyway, so why bother throwing away this money? Got rid of the fee on January 1. I just learned we have increased the number of businesses signing up to do business with us by 350%. So I knew it was a barrier, I didn't know it was that much of a barrier. And a lot of those who've signed up with us are women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. So it's empowering local businesses to be part of the process. And it's good for us because the more we have bidding, the more competitive it is. It's capitalism, right? We want to make sure we're getting the bang for our buck. So the more people who can participate, the better it is.
Well, I want to speak to, personally, I attended an event from last week. It was Nassau County, your buying departments in collaboration with SUNY Farmingdale, your Office of Minority Affairs, and it was phenomenal. It really was great. because there were so many major corporations that were there, governmental agencies that I know I've been looking forward to an opportunity to be able to engage with, and to be able to go to an event that was just local, right? I mean, within 15 minutes from my office was great. And so I commended you on that. I even talked to the Office of Minority Affairs, and I'd like for you to even speak about that, because there were so many businesses there. I mean, it looked like there were several hundreds of companies of minority and women and service-disabled veterans, just small business in general that were present.
I was very happy to see you there, Tanya. I'm glad you were there. Just at the county level, we have a budget that's a little more than $3 billion. One of those billions, that's what we pay to outside contractors, that's what we pay to purchasing. It's $1 billion in business. So we want to make sure we're including everyone. Then when you look at what the state is doing with the Belmont project that they're building, with the third track, with all the improvements on the Long Island Railroad. We've got Belmont coming. We're encouraging more transit-oriented development, apartments, rental apartments around train stations like Farmingdale has done to great success to revitalize our downtowns, to keep our young people. There's a lot happening, and we want to make sure that we're including everyone. Because, as we said in the last show, when one sort of person is doing well, it's great for the entire county. If we can empower our businesses and let them be included, the better off it is for all of us. We're actually partnering with Suffolk County on a disparity study. And so the county hasn't done a disparity study since, I think, about 2003. To get a snapshot of what the reality is on the ground in terms of demographics, and then is that translating to what we're doing at the county level? Are we matching what the reality is? And this disparity study is going to tell us what we have to do to improve on that. And I'm really happy we're doing it with Suffolk County as a partnership. It's a great shared services initiative, because we really are one region. I mean, that boundary, you don't know when you're crossing that boundary from one to the other.
The invisible county line road, right?
Exactly. That's right.
Friends, you are watching and listening to Dwayne Gregory Presents. This is a government access community conversation that we're having with shakers and movers in our community and in our region. Today, our guest is Laura Curran, who serves as the county executive of Nassau County. I'm Andy C. Luter. I'm joined by Tanya Luter Gordon and Rosalind Luter Aaron. We make up Luter Life Coaches, and we're delighted to be in partnership with Dwayne Gregory to make this conversation and this programming available to you. County Executive Curran, I want to talk about not only disparity that you just mentioned a moment ago, but diversity as well. And you haven't been here on Long Island, you know that the makeup of Long Island for a large portion of its history has been sectionalized. And we're beginning to see more and more diversity and true integration in this region like never before. Now, I am a longtime resident of Long Island, and I can remember distinctly when riding the Long Island Railroad from New York back out to Amityville, that you stopped in Freeport and saw people of color, but you didn't see people of color again until you got to Amityville, which meant that Seaford, Massapequa Park, Wantagh, Belmore, Merritt, we were an integrated island, but we were sectionalized. Now when I ride the Long Island Railroad, which I do quite often, I am seeing diverse people from the time I get on in Amityville all the way until when I reach Penn Station. Tell us how intentional that is for you as a government person here on Long Island to ensure that that kind of diversity and lack of disparity continues to occur here in this region.
So I live on that same train line on the Babylon branch, and in the 22 years I've lived there, I have noticed much more integration. However, as we talked about in the last segment, and as that Newsday Housing Discrimination series showed, we have a lot more work to do. We have a lot more work to do. We're finding, just look at the demographics, more diversity. Our Hispanic population is growing, our Asian population is growing. We want to make sure that we're connecting with everyone. We've just rebranded. We had something called CASA, which was the Coordinating Agency for Spanish Americans. That was a little limited, so we decided to call it the Office of Hispanic Affairs to include everyone. We're adding staff to that. We're adding staff to the Office of Minority Affairs to make sure that our MWBE compliance is where it should be, and we're getting there. We're getting on the road there. We also started with the support of the county legislature, the Asian Affairs Office, because we didn't have that before, and we were finding there were many South Asian communities coming, growing Chinese community in Nassau County, growing Korean community, growing Muslim community, but the community members, these new community members, did not feel connected to their government. So we are making sure we are connecting with them. We're also using this for economic development so that we can draw on the strengths of all our communities to grow the tax base, to help keep our young people and to attract jobs. There's a real entrepreneurial spirit in our immigrant community. We want to tap into that and have it work for all of us. So we're adding staff where we need to. We're making sure that we're connecting with each community. And also when it comes to public safety, it's very important, especially with new arrivals to the county, that they trust the police. And that's something that we have in Nassau County. There's a real partnership between our communities and the police, which is why, thanks to the hardworking men and women of our police department, under the leadership of our police commissioner, we have historic crime lows. Big part of that is because we have those strong community relations. So we want to make sure when new people are moving to our county that we cement those relationships, that they know that the police are here to respect them and to protect them. And that's another very important piece.
You mentioned tax base, and that affords me an opportunity and opens the door for me to kind of connect local politics to federal politics. There has been a tax bill that recently went into effect that limits what you can claim in terms of property taxes.
Yeah.
$10,000, and for perhaps 85 to 90% of the country, a $10,000 ceiling on property tax claiming is appropriate. It works for them. But on Long Island, especially New York City, that doesn't work because our taxes seem to be beyond that.
Right.
What do you recommend be done to help alleviate some of the pressure that residents of this region are experiencing because that cap is now impacting them?
Yeah, this is a really, really big deal. So the president decided, obviously he needs revenue, so he is capping the deduction. You cannot claim more than $10,000 as a deduction for your taxes. So you're basically being taxed on your tax. You have to pay taxes, and then you're taxed on that tax. In Nassau County, on Long Island, in both counties, we have incredibly high property taxes. So this hurts us more than it hurts other regions. And it's especially angering because we, Long Island, send much more money to Washington, D.C. than we get back. So we're subsidizing other states by being taxed on our tax. I know the governor is looking at ways of dealing with this. I think people really need to let their voices be heard and say that this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable for Long Island, and it's really punishing Long Island. We are already way too heavily taxed.
You also talked about your work in developing and maintaining the momentum in the MWBE program. And I was delighted to hear you mention that, in part because Tanya is a member of that community and category, and I'm sure she may have a question or a comment or observation as it relates to her experience as a MWBE with Nassau County.
Well, I will say this, that I get notifications on a regular basis from the Office of Minority Affairs regarding opportunities, and I think that that is a phenomenal tool. In the state of New York, they have something called the New York State Contract Reporter, and once you set up your profile and you indicate what your core competencies are, you get literally opportunities that are sent to you daily. I mean, sometimes I get 3-4 times a day, opportunities, and I pick and choose what I want to pursue from an RFP standpoint. And we know that can be very labor intensive, but just having the knowledge is great because it can literally grow your business by having access to the information. So I'm very pleased to know that Nassau County is making the same effort to notifying MWBEs. Also, I want to also commend you with the Office of Minority Affairs, how they have something called the Fast Track, because I am already certified in the state as an MWB and in the city. It was just a small form. that I had to fill out with my recertification. And I got all my information in, and I think I'll be hearing shortly.
Great.
So these are major improvements that I've seen as an MWBE that I want to commend your administration.
And we're
about.
trying to get out and let as many business owners as possible know to make the connection, to sign up, no more fee. Please sign up and see, if it works, if there's a good synergy there and it works, then let's do it. Great.
Great. Friends, you are listening to and watching Dwayne Gregory Presents. He is the presiding officer of the Suffolk County Legislature. He also represents the 18th Legislative District in Suffolk County, and he's responsible for this government access community conversation that we're having. I am Andy C. Luter. I'm joined by Tanya Luter Gordon and Rosalind Luter Aaron. We are Luter Life coaches, and we're delighted to be in partnership with Dwayne Gregory to make this kind of programming possible. Our county executive, we have maybe about 8 minutes before we close out, and I want to kind of go in this direction. It is somewhat transparent and perhaps even a bit painful. At the time of this recording, my sisters and I, we have experienced the loss of my 33-year-old son.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He was found actually in Newark, New Jersey, seemingly a victim of this opioid epidemic.
Oh.
And I know
really
that you
sorry.
have some initiatives
Yeah.
in that particular regard. And for families like ours
Yeah.
who are dealing with this and trying to manage the grief and the mourning that goes along with that, talk to us about how Nassau County sees its role in combating what has become a far too severe epidemic and sickness here in this region of the country.
Well, first of all, Dr. Luter, and to the aunties, I just want to say how sorry I am. I mean,
Thank you.
I know
Thank
that
you.
it's not.
Appreciate it.
It's very, very difficult, and I'm with you, and I didn't know, and I'm sorry. But it just strikes home how important this is, and how many families are affected by this. These are substances you can take, Vicodin, for example, or OxyContin, according to your doctor's prescription, and in 2 weeks, you're an addict. It changes your brain chemistry, and you probably saw that. So we had an initiative called Operation Natalie, started by Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder in Nassau County. And it's named after a girl named Natalie Chiappa who died of a heroin overdose 11 years ago in Massapequa. Cheerleader, great girl, everybody loved her, but she had this terrible secret that nobody wanted to know about. And I just spoke with her dad recently. He's such an advocate for what we're doing. And basically what it is, it's looking at real-time reporting of overdoses, fatal and non-fatal, and then looking at crimes associated with drug use, such as breaking into cars for money, that sort of thing. And when you have these clusters together, you know you have a problem. So there was increased enforcement in these communities where it was happening. But it wasn't just enforcement. We also followed up with town hall meetings to talk to parents, to talk to educators, to talk to other first responders, firefighters who are often first on the scene with the Narcan, about what the warning signs are, where kids hide the drugs, where they buy them, what happens to them, how you can tell that there's something, and then giving them treatment, because you're not going to enforce your way out of it. You need the treatment, you need the education. We have a great program in the schools now called Too Good for Drugs, reaching kids even in elementary school with age-appropriate materials so that they know how to respect themselves, how to say no in a way, when it's difficult to say no, how to arm themselves. We've got to arm everyone with knowledge, with prevention, with education, and then of course, the enforcement. And what this does, it also gives users and addicts who are arrested an opportunity for diversion. So if you admit you have a problem, you go before the judge, and you make a good faith effort to get treatment and get help for yourself, then you're not going to jail. Because that often you see the downward spiral. And we've seen a very strong decrease in both fatal and non-fatal overdoses, and we're going to keep going. We're not done yet.
Okay. The final topic I'd like to just touch on before we sign off in terms of this particular program you mentioned the magnificent job that the Nassau County Police Department is doing, and of course, all across the country, there's been historic tension between communities of color and law enforcement. How is Nassau County continuing? I know you've already spoken to this, but just kind of reiterate how Nassau County is managing those historic relationships that have been tense and fragile, and what they're doing to improve those so that we don't see Staten Island and some of the other incidents, Florida, and some of the other incidents, St. Louis, here on Long Island.
We have an excellent training program where we train our cops and our corrections officers, and it's really about community. It's making sure that those bonds between community and law enforcement remain strong. And it means visiting schools. It means just getting into the communities, going to meetings, going to all the mosques, the synagogues, the churches, making those connections with faith leaders, making those connections with educational leaders, making those connections with community leaders. And you have to continue to reinforce them. We had a wonderful backpack giveaway with the police department in the village of Hempstead. We're trying in any way that we can to connect with people in a sort of non-law enforcement way, so that they get to see the police. They visit, with the beautiful mounted police unit on the horses, or the canine unit, or whatever it is, to keep that bond and to keep that connection. And I really honestly believe that's why we're enjoying historic crime lows. We have a wonderful police department. Our cops are the best. I can say that, and they're very, very well trained. And the leadership, I have to say, comes from the top with Commissioner Ryder and his leadership team. They set the tone. They are out there in the community. They're just as busy as I am, making sure that everyone knows that we're here to protect them. And if I just have time to say quickly, with our immigrant communities, I know that there's some tension that we see around the country, and something that we have to really remind our new arrivals is that if you are the victim of a crime, if you are the witness to the crime, or you have information about a crime, that your immigration status is irrelevant. Because we don't want you to be afraid to come forward. If I'm a new arrival and I know that there's sex trafficking happening, or drug dealing, or there's gangsters in my neighborhood, but I'm afraid to come forward, the problem will only get worse. Worse for my family, worse for the community, and less safe for the police as well. So that's a very important policy that we need to remind people about.
Great.
That is wonderful, yes.
Well, friends, that takes up just about all of our time, and I want to thank you for yours. I'm Andy C. Luter, and this is Dwayne Gregory Presents. I'm going to give both of my co-hosts an opportunity to provide a closing word as we say goodbye. Tanya.
Once again, I want to thank Nassau County Executive Curran for coming today and sharing with us her initiatives. I've had an opportunity to meet her on multiple occasions, and so I am extremely excited about sitting here and talking with her. Excited that we have the first woman as the county executive. And I know she said that she didn't really want to campaign on that and build on that, but I am personally excited about that, because there are little girls that are looking at our county executive, and they're saying, you know what? If she did it, when I grow up, I can. And so she is such a wonderful role model, probably far beyond she even realizes.
Thank you.
But I thank you for doing what you're doing, and once again, thank you for taking this time with us.
Thank you.
Tanya.
Yes,
Rosalind.
indeed. County Executive, it has been a privilege to have you here today. You've spoken on so many different areas that impact our community, our neighborhoods, and you are just so passionate, and I just absolutely love that. One of the things that you indicated was being instrumental in helping our young adults as it relates to them moving forward, whether it's employment, because they are struggling. From time to time, they're struggling, and they need assistance. They're looking to us to what is my next step. And it is just refreshing that a public servant cares enough to know that that is important, because it is relative even to some of the issues that we've talked about here today. So thank you so much for tackling these areas that are just so important to our community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends, and now back to Dwayne Gregory.
We have reached the conclusion of this show, and I hope you have found it to be very informative. Until next time, Presiding Officer Dwayne Gregory.